Most of us would like to avoid risk, but lenders and professional investors know that understanding risk is actually their path to long-term success. And it's important for all multifamily investors to understand the lender's perspective, because when you have a commercial mortgage or construction loan, your lender ultimately has a great deal of control. Multifamily income property is a great way to build wealth, and right now it's the perfect way to hedge against inflation. But most of us do understand that you just don't make money without risk, right? So if you've been out looking for multifamily investment properties to buy, you probably found that any property in good condition, in a good area with good cash flow, is going to cost so much that you won't be able to make very much money on it, right? So if you want higher returns, which most investors do, right? You need to find properties that are underperforming and can be renovated and repositioned in order to increase their income. These are what they call value add deals, right? And these projects, obviously they can get much more complicated than most individuals are prepared for. So normally they're purchased by professionals, and a lot of times individuals can invest as passive investors through a professional syndicator who manages the whole deal and shares the profits with the investors so that they can get good returns, right? Likewise, developing new construction multifamily, it's like the ultimate value add deal because it's 100% new. So these properties attract the best tenants and generally get the highest rents for the area. And creating value from vacant land, from a concept, of course, it takes a bit more expertise. So here, again, individual investors often invest as passive equity partners through a syndication. So I can tell you, having been on the board of directors and loan committee for a Chicago community bank that specialized in real estate lending from 2005 till about 2010, I wanted to talk about the risk factors involved in multifamily deals that involve new construction and or renovation. And what I've seen firsthand is that these risk factors, they can all kind of overlap and all kinds of crazy things can happen. So the fact is that assuming that the principals know what they're doing, the vast majority of value add or new construction deals are going to be quite successful and very profitable. But once in a while, they can and will run into troubles. If you do 10 deals and 7 are very profitable, you may have 1 or 2 that are only so-so, and you may also have 1 or 2 that get caught in a bad market period and can be losers, right? So you'll want to mitigate risk. And we want to consider what can happen if things don't go according to the original plan. And we want to have some contingency plans in place, right? And this is what mitigating risk is all about. So any of these projects that require construction, once they're completed and leased up and stabilized, they're going to have the same risk factors as any other stabilized properties that you might purchase, right? Less actually, because they're going to be new or newly renovated, so you'll have less surprises after that point. But of course, the income numbers projected in the loan application rely on renovation or construction being completed before they can be leased at these higher rents. And this means that they're going to be subject to additional construction-related risk factors. And we're going to talk about those. So the first is uncertainty and changes in the projected scope of work. And this, in turn, the costs, right? Did the estimated costs include all the necessary work, and were the costs estimated accurately, right? Now, especially with a rehab project, if latent defects are discovered once the demolition begins, a rehab project can sometimes become the proverbial can of worms, right? So correcting these is going to need to be added to the scope of work and added to the budget. And if this additional expense is going to result in higher income, the lender might consider increasing the loan amount, but normally the borrower is going to need to add funds to the deal in order to bring it up there, right, to cover any unforeseen charges, right? Now, additionally, adverse changes in rental income from what was projected can affect the whole thing, right? So will the finished building be able to support the projected rents? And if not, there might not be enough cash flow to cover all the expenses and the mortgage payment, of course, when it's complete. So that's obviously a concern, right? Then there's uncertainty in the time to complete it. So delays increase the time before cash flow starts, and that can throw the budget out of whack, right? The rental income value projections can also change during the construction period due to other market factors. Sometimes cap rates change, so the amount that an investor would be willing to pay for a given income stream can change, right? So again, these are market factors that can happen, from time to time. And also, you could also have conflicts sometimes between the owners, if you've got partners, or between the owner and the lender. And these can cause delays, they can cause litigation, they can cause the whole deal to fall apart. So you want to hire an experienced real estate attorney to structure deals carefully. An experienced attorney is paid to consider contingencies for when things don't go according to plan. That's what they do, right? Now, lenders take a long, hard look at the projected plan and the numbers to evaluate the expertise of the team. And there's no substitute here for experience. The principals are going to need to have completed similar projects, right? Is the team experienced in all the required phases of construction, leasing, and management? When you look at any value add deal that requires extensive rehab, or one of these BRRRR type deals, buy, rehab, rent, repeat, the lender's concerned about uncertainties in project costs, time to completion, and market changes, of course. And they're concerned about the finished value. What is the stabilized income stream going to be actually in the end? And the more experienced the team is and the better capitalized, the more the lender is going to be able to relax, and they're not going to be worried about. They'll know that those numbers they suggested are probably pretty much on target. Now, in new construction multifamily development, generally the finished asset is going to be very high quality. And this, of course, assumes that the builder is going to be able to complete the project correctly and within budget and on a timely basis, of course. Now, the areas that the lender looks at are, again, the team's experience building similar projects. Can they deliver a high-quality finished project on budget within that time frame? Have they identified a good market niche for this particular product? The next thing that the lender is going to look at is the loan to cost and loan to value. Now, I put that in a separate video, so you can follow the link and definitely find out and listen to the video about loan to cost and loan to value, because it's really important that you understand those things, because those are things that the lender is looking at to try to figure out how much risk they've got in the deal.